Look, I went from having $400 in my bank account 4 years ago to generating upwards of $1,000 a day selling services and digital products at only 21 years old. And on top of that, I went from being socially anxious to the point I couldn't even leave my parents' house for months to spreading my message with the world and generating over 36.7 million views across social media in 6 months, starting with no audience. In this video, I'm going to be explaining why I decided to lock myself in a room until I made $10,000 per month and why you should do the same. If you make $10,000 per month, you are already in the top 1% of earners in the world. So what this means is that in order to get to the level where you make that much money, you are going to need to sacrifice more than 99% of people will ever be willing to sacrifice. But in order to make this work, the truth is you need to become delusionally obsessed with your goals. And for that to be possible, you need to know exactly why you're going to sacrifice so much. Remember this, you only have to get rich once. If you play your cards right, you work hard for a few years, let's say you sacrifice the first few years of your 20s, then you will live the rest of your life like a king. I don't know what you think, but personally, I chose to make that sacrifice because to me, that is worth it. I've seen my parents all of their lives breaking their backs only to earn breadcrumbs, and I always knew there is so much more to life than just working a job that you hate to pay bills and taxes. The truth is, I'm not from a privileged background. I grew up in a small French town with less than 10,000 people and no real career opportunities. My mother worked a dangerous night job as a nursing assistant. Alongside with her other female co-workers, they would have to deal with very violent patients. And when I mean violent, I mean dealers that got into knife fights, thugs, drug lords, convicted felons, these kinds of people. At home, my mother would often tell us these unbelievable stories. Sometimes it would even happen that one of the patients would get angry and start insulting, even hitting one of the nurses. Now when it comes to my father, he hated his job and his life in general, so he would often get drunk and get violent. He'd take it out on me. So as you can see, life at home was far from being perfect. I'd go to school and get bullied by the other kids because I was too different or too weird in their opinion, but then I'd come back home to a place that didn't feel anything like a home. Growing up, because I was witnessing pain and misery on a daily basis, I felt like happiness didn't exist. Like it was just this foolish thing that didn't actually exist except maybe in movies. Now for some reason, I was naturally drawn towards action film jobs, so I was aiming to join the police and later on the special forces. But then the trajectory of my life completely changed when 3 major things happened. First, my mother got diagnosed with cancer, and second, I realized I could never actually join the special forces because of medical issues. And third, I got into a small private middle school near my hometown. It wasn't a very expensive private school, but lots of wealthier families were also sending their kids there. I would see their parents dropping them off to school in Porsches, while the rest of the broke kids like me were forced to take the crowded bus. Now growing up, I knew for a fact, if only we had more money, life would be amazing. We could pay for the best treatments for my mother, increase her chances of making it and winning the fight against cancer. My father could have followed his passion, which would have transformed him completely because his violence, his addiction only were a result of a lack of purpose. And above all, we could finally stop worrying about the price of everything and just enjoy life for once. Every day, I would see my father being miserable because he worked a dead-end job he hated that brought him no fulfillment. At work, he was treated like a commodity. And trust me, there's nothing fun about working a job just to pay bills and taxes, especially if you do that for the next 40 years. Yet, that's the dream that society sells you. They tell you be a good consumer, get massively in debt, get a car and finance that you can't even afford. That way, you become enslaved. You'll have to work a job for the rest of your life, even if you don't like that job, even if it doesn't fulfill you, just to keep up appearances. And now you can't quit your job. You can't start that business because you need the money to pay your rent, to pay your car that you got on finance. So as a teen, I decided I was going to do everything in my power to get rich. And when I mean rich, I mean rich, like fuck you money. I was sick and tired of never being able to do any of the things I wanted because we didn't have any money growing up. And I was also sick and tired of watching the people I loved breaking their backs every day at work only to get breadcrumbs. Do you know the quote, you'll have success when you want to be successful as badly as you want to breathe? Well, to tell you the truth, I've always wanted to be successful more than I wanted to breathe. After failing my first proper business, which was to sell candies in the neighborhood and at school, I realized that the best way to make money, starting from nothing, even with $0, was to start an online business. You have to realize that people dumber than you are making millions right now while you're struggling to get by. And the only reason they're able to print so much money every single day while you're still broke is because they're utilizing the greatest opportunity to generate wealth we have ever seen in the entire history of mankind, and that is to start an online business. Just a few decades ago, so not that long ago, back when the internet and social media didn't even exist, starting a proper business required a lot of startup capital, but also having the right connections. So you had to be pretty damn not privileged to be able to get access to that opportunity. Nowadays, people from all ages can make money online with only a steady internet connection, a laptop, and the willingness to put in the work to never give up and to keep learning. And with tools like Google at your disposal, information's never been easier to access than it is today. There has never been a better time to be alive. 40 years ago, 100 years ago, there were no self-made multi-millionaires in their early 20s. Nowadays, people are becoming millionaires younger than ever before, starting from low-income backgrounds. And all of that without having to waste hundreds of thousands of dollars on overpriced marketing degrees. And all of that is only possible thanks to the internet and social media. Now you have to know, not every business model is the same. Back in 2019-2020, my best friend of the time and I decided to start a dropshipping business. Why? Because it was advertised as the best business model for beginners. So we bought an expensive dropshipping course over $2,000 even though we were broke, and we started our first Shopify store. The problem with that business model is that we needed to use paid advertising to get traffic on our product page, which means that profit margins would be very small. So in order to make a living, nothing fancy, we needed to get a lot of customers, which was no easy feat to accomplish. And on top of that, we'd have to build an entire Shopify store around a winning product. Except that winning products are based on trends, and trends come and go. So even if we did manage to build a profitable Shopify store, inevitably at some point in the future, we'd have to close it to reopen another based on another trending product. We'd have to build from scratch all over again. What happened to all of the stores selling fidget spinners? They made a lot of money for a while, back when it was popular, but then nothing. Not to mention that we ran into so many problems because of Facebook ads. We'd spend weeks finding a winning product, building an entire Shopify store, creating the creatives and the ad campaign, only to have no way to market our product because Facebook ads would ban our ad accounts without even providing an explanation. I can tell you that if at the time I had known what I know today, I would have gotten to where I am so much faster. Which is why, to save you thousands of dollars and years of your life, I recorded a video in which I share my full story with you. That video will show you how I went from having only $400 in my bank account over 4 years ago to generating upwards of $1,000 a day at only 21 years old. I will share with you the step-by-step process I used to make this possible so you can copy me. And I will also reveal the 2 best paths to $5,000 and $10,000 per month in 2024 and beyond. The link will be in the description below. Now the next thing you need to understand in order to go from $0 to $10,000 per month is that you need to commit to your business idea for the next 12 months at the bare minimum. Did you know that the #1 reason why people fail to achieve their goals in life is because they give up? Most people struggle to lose weight and to get fit because they give up. Most people can't start a profitable business because they stop putting in the work. Most people never make it on YouTube because they publish 3 videos and then they quit. I know that this isn't what you want to hear, but if you're someone with big goals, it's going to take time, hard work, and perseverance. I wish I could tell you that making money online and building the life of your dreams was as easy as clicking on a couple buttons, but the truth is, it's not. A lot of people don't get started because they're afraid of showing themselves at their lowest. They want to become entrepreneurs because they're only thinking about the flashy, fancy lifestyle. And while you can have that at some point, at first, you are going to need to grind. If you're watching this, you're 15 to 25, let's be honest, you want to prove people wrong, and so do I. But do you know what's funny? A few months ago, I went back to Canary Wharf, as I often do, and I was staying in a high-rise. I decided to order some food, and I went downstairs to pick it up. And every time, I can't help but wonder what the person that brings me my food is thinking. Because I'm pretty young, I come out of this big, expensive building, they must think I'm just some lucky rich kid, when they have no idea that I come from a broken household and only had $400 to my name just a few years ago. I know for a fact that a lot of young men who want to become successful, it's because they want to flash their lifestyle. They want to impress people. But when you get chauffeured to a 4-star hotel or you go to an expensive restaurant and you're young, people just think you have rich parents. They don't think you started a business and earned it and come from nothing. But as you know, I don't come from money. It took me almost a full decade to start seeing any success online. But part of that was because I had severe shiny object syndrome. I couldn't just pick one thing and stick with it, which is exactly why my best advice to you is this. Pick a business model that you can stick to for the next 12 months. Use organic marketing to get customers. That way, you don't have to spend money that you don't have on paid advertising every day. You don't have the risk of going bankrupt. And if you fail, it won't ruin your life because you can start another business. And then, don't allow yourself to give up or to work on something else before the end of those 12 months. By doing that, you automatically get ahead of 99% of people. Now, if you found this video helpful, share it with a friend, and together, let's blow up this YouTube channel to empower individuals across the globe to become financially free.